G'day, I'm Chris from Western Four-Wheel Driver magazine. When most people think about touring Australia, they think about driving a modern four-wheel drive and having all the latest gear. Today, we're going to catch up with a couple of characters who love travelling the country in their 1930s Model A Fords. So come with us as we wander the West. We'd arranged to meet some of the members of the Model A Restorers Club of WA and spend 3 days travelling the stunning Kennedy Loop track. With Gascoyne Junction your last opportunity for fuel, this is where the real Western Australian outback begins. A kaleidoscope of terrain and landscape awaits those looking for an authentic outback experience. So guys, we've been driving around on the tracks today, following Glad, the Model A. What's the attraction of the Model A Ford?
Well, we like the Model A Fords because they're a very reliable car. They're easy to drive because they've got a clutch and they've got an accelerator and a brake, and they are very versatile. They were made for conditions prior to bitumen roads, so coming on a track like today is pretty easy for a Model A.
Yeah, it handled it perfectly.
Yeah, it's built for those conditions.
They pretty much opened up the country, well, many parts of the world. But Henry built them as a car for everybody. Anybody could afford one.
Yeah. So tell me about yourselves. So
I've got a couple of Model A's. I've got a coupe and a four-door slant window. I've got a 1936 Ford V8 as well, which sort of was my grandfather's car. He bought brand new. He bought it brand new and left it to me. So I've actually owned it for longer than him. And then I decided to go a bit earlier and wanted to get involved in Model A's and the Model A Club. They're simple, easy to operate, a bit of number 8 wire and a bit of ingenuity, and you can just about go anywhere.
Go anywhere, yeah. And Brett, how long have you been involved with the Model A?
I've been involved with the Model A Restorers Club of West Australia for about 15 years, and but I've always had a fascination for Model A's because they started this country, and I've been involved with a sheep station where it was Model A, and so I thought, when I retired I'd get one, and away I went. And so I joined the club, and the club found me a car in Gladstone, Queensland, and so I decided to buy it, and I decided to drive it home, and I'd only ever driven a Model A about 2 k's around City Beach in Perth. And so I took my brother and some friends, and we picked it up and drove all the way back. And because I was so glad to get back, and it came from Gladstone, we called her Glad. And she's been a very, very faithful car to me. I've driven it around Australia 3.5 times so far. And
what happened with the half?
Well, that's when I came from Gladstone. I flew that bit. We're planning to go to Goulburn.
Yeah, we're off to Goulburn
for a national meet in September this year. But they're just a great car, very enjoyable, and everyone you pass, they smile, they wave, and to break down in a Model A is a great way to get to know really good new friends, and it works. It's really good. We love them.
And we've used them for fundraising for Royal Flying Doctor Service. Went through the Outback Highway, didn't we?
Yep. So yeah, we've done a lot of fundraising with the RFDS.
Yep.
And in fact, I ran a blog called The Slow Drive when I went round Australia to Ipswich.
Okay.
And the US Model A's, and there's a lot of them in America, followed our blog. And we raised $68,000 without much work for the Royal Flying Doctor Service.
So locally, how big is the club here in WA?
There's about 150 cars, probably 200, 250 members. There's clubs in every state, and even in the Northern Territory. And there's quite a few clubs in New Zealand. There's clubs worldwide. There's a big network, and as Brett said, it's a very there's a lot of camaraderie amongst Model A's, and you can go to any state and break down, and you look up the directory, and somebody will give you a hand. We broke an axle in South Australia and ended up going out onto a farm and cracking open the diff and coming back with an axle and repairing it.
Yeah. And we repaired it in the backyard of some bloke in Adelaide's house, and he said, "You're going to take it for a test run?" I said, "Yeah, we've got it all the way back to Perth, so that'll test run it." And so they're really good. Paul's far better than me. He actually read the manual as to what we should do. I just tend to be a bit gung-ho and just get into it. But the club's a restorers club, and so they all want to help you. If I ring up anyone in our club in Perth and say, like just the other day, I had an ignition problem. Well, it's actually a carburettor, and it's a simple carburettor. And I just couldn't work out why I couldn't get this thing tuned. And ran a bloke within an hour, driven down to where I live, and we solved the problem. So it's a great camaraderie, and they're pretty special cars. They're not expensive, to buy.
No.
And
what does an average Model A go for?
Well, it depends. It's all about condition.
Yeah.
If you've got a concourse one, you're probably 50,000. But you park outside the coffee shop and people think it's worth $100,000, and it's not. Probably your average run-of-the-mill Model A would be 25.
Yeah.
And parts are readily available from the US. You can just about build them ground up from the US if you wanted. It's very, very popular in the US. It's almost a cult following in the US, particularly when they have fairs and events, which in the US there's a lot of parades, Christmas parades, all that sort of stuff.
Used for everything.
Yeah, and we've had these cars. I rebuilt one from scratch. I picked it up in Carnarvon and it was on the back of a trailer, and you wouldn't recognise any of it as being a car. And we built it from scratch at the men's shed in Perth, and it was a really good project. A beautiful car at the end. I put a lot of time, a lot of money into it, but it's a great experience rebuilding cars, and I've involved with all sorts of cars, but the Model A, that Glad, that one we're in today, is my favourite car. It's a great old car. Every time you go over a bump, Paul's door comes flying open, and if it's a bad bump, both doors fly open. We don't have seat belts, so
if it's a normal bump, it bites you under the arm between the two doors.
And like in the river today, it was twisting and turning, and you've got a wooden frame in there, and you could feel the whole car wobbling around, and doors.
It's part of the character.
Yeah, it's bloody good fun.
Yeah. So if someone wanted to get involved in the club, how do they get involved?
Well,
we've got a website. They can look us up on the website, and there's a lot of guys in the club that will help you find a Model A, or very happy to help you do anything to do with the club. There's a lot of camaraderie in the club. We have runs every month. Generally have a meeting every month, and then we have our turn at running the national rally. The last one was in Busselton. I think we've got one in a couple of years' time in WA somewhere.
And I thought you both mentioned that you're judges.
Yeah, we judge Model A's locally in Australia, but we also go to New Zealand, and we declare ourselves to be senior judges.
And international judges.
Oh, that as well, yeah.
So international senior judges.
Yeah, mainly because we're over 70.
International judges.
Yeah. But you normally join a panel, of maybe 15 judges that judge each car, and you have a certain section that you look, you read up about.
Could be paint, or it could be bodywork. And it's a big thing in the US. Like their judging is like a religion. I mean, there's a manual, a lever arch folder, and every nut bolt washer is specified, even the different years for carburetors or changes that may have happened during the production period. Yeah, it really is amazing, and you get some fantastic cars. I've been to a national rally over there. It's unbelievable what you see.
And though at a national meet, they'll have competitions, different states will have a car. They've got to physically carry all the parts down to the other end and then rebuild it. And that's really great fun to watch. We have little minor gymkhanas where you've got to do different things in your car.
A bit like today.
A bit serious today.
Yeah.
And you've got to understand also that Paul and I and a few others in the club, we call ourselves a touring group. So we're ones that do go bush and willing to test our cars to the limit. Some people don't want to do that, and that's fair enough. Everyone can do whatever they like. But to me, to bring a mile lay out of the bush and show people like yourself, just bloody astounded what our cars can do compared to the modern cars. And today we did a starter motor, but we're still going.
Still rolling.
And that is the beauty of them. You can improvise and keep it running, unless you do something really serious like break a crankshaft or something.
We did a national variety bash, which is what I do for variety, and we were coming from Sydney to Perth. First day out I did a clutch, and I drove it the rest of the trip right across Australia without a clutch. And it's not a problem, it's just a matter of judging the gears a bit better. And Paul quite often say to me he doesn't like the way I change gears anyhow. But yeah, it's all about having fun and enjoying it.
Yep. John, how did you get roped into this?
For a whole lot of reasons. Firstly, I know Brett and Paul through the men's shed, but also it goes back to something that Brett said early on about being a pastoralist and, being a vehicle that's opened up the bush. Well, my father and my uncles and my grandfather all drove those sorts of vehicles around here and helped open the Gascoyne up. Yeah. And, my family's still on the same pastoral lists, 5 generations after. Yeah. So in a way, this trip is a little bit of a recognition of my forebears. Yeah. And it's fun. And to tow the Model A through the sand.
Well,
it's got to be a practical element to it.
We did offer to tow the Unimog today, but he declined.
Yeah, I did hear that on the radio.
Yeah.
I can't understand why.
I was quite miffed, really.
Mind you, we have seen some Land Cruisers being towed through there as well, so we're not alone.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Nice, Paul, nice.
But yeah, look, and with our pastoral background, it's like coming home to us. Yeah. And it's pretty special. I came along this track 40 years ago, nearly 50 years ago, and we were chasing or hunting dingoes because that was considered to be the main pest at the time. We did manage to get rid of the dingoes, but then the goats took over and really wrecked the range. Luckily the dingoes are back and they're doing a world of good looking after the country. So it's great for us to come back and look at the country and enjoy it.
Yes, all of that. And I guess one of the other really important things is that both Brett and I are interested in tourism in remote areas, and certainly for myself, it's a way of helping the local Shire of Upper Gascoyne to build tourism product that's unusual, and hopefully our efforts will not only be good fun for us, but will also help them to create jobs and keep people on the land and deal with the changing landscape in the pastoral area that this is centred on.
And we've been doing it for a long time. John, who we call Dr. John, because he got one of those doctorate things.
PhD things.
And his thesis many years ago was about outback tourism, well before it was a fashionable thing. Yeah. And back in the 80s, I helped create the Gascoyne Murchison Pathways, which is the Wagon pathway which we're on, and the Kingsford Smith run and the Miners Pathway. And this track that we're doing now, I'm hoping will come a loop road of the Kingsford Smith Mail Run. Yeah. So it'll start at Gascoyne Junction and go out for 4 or 5 days and back at Gascoyne Junction. So it helps the local community.
Yeah, helps the economic development of the region.
Yeah.
And even at the moment, I'm also involved with Track Care, which is a sort of a four-wheel drive club. We're looking at helping the pastoral lessee in Glenburgh Station set up a small entry-level tourism destination which will service this very track, this very loop road. So it's about recognising the changes that have occurred to the environment over the years and helping the young people who are up and coming to find a way to live in a marvellous part of the world and experience some of the things that we've been fortunate enough to experience.
It's a pretty spectacular part of the world, isn't it?
It is. It's very
magic,
special.
Very magic.
And for country to survive, you need to have people managing it. And so it's a fair bit more, the motivation is a fair bit more than just simply having a bit of fun and playing with some old cars.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you for your time.
It's our pleasure.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been nice to show you around.
Yeah, it's been fantastic.
And it's been a real pleasure for us. And just to enjoy the birds and just even the jackass kookaburra, which lives, this is the furthest south it comes in Australia, the Gascoyne River. And it's just magic to feel and hear all these things again. It's great. Thank you.
So Brett, we've been following Glad for the last 3 days through the Kennedy Range. Tell us about her.
She's a wonderful old beast. She's 92 years old, 1930, Model A. It's called a Phaeton because of the type of roof it's got. And it's original. It's got the original engine, and she loves this sort of work. This is the country that they used them for in the old days, before there was ever bitumen. And so yeah, we've had a lot of fun.
Yeah, she's been pretty capable. So some of those washaways and things, I thought you'd struggle, but you got through them all right.
Yeah, we got everywhere that any of these four-wheel drives will go, and we know that because we've got the clearance and we've got a very slow engine that can just tonk along and
just creep up and crawl over those obstacles.
That's it. That's dead right, and it works well. We're a bit handicapped this trip because the starter motor packed up back in Gascoyne Junction, but
You've had to push start it a few times.
Yes, we don't like to admit that, but Glad gets offended when you pick on it. But I've driven this car without a clutch all the way from Richmond in New South Wales to Kalgoorlie on a variety bash. So they're very resilient. They're made for this country, and it's been a pleasure showing you young fellas what a good old car can do.
It's been fantastic. So what are some of the features of the car?
Features of Glad are basically that she's basically original. There's a few little knickknacks that have been added to it that you can't see, so you'd still think it's original. But she's 4-cylinder, and she's a wonderful machine. She's got 19-inch wheels. The earlier model had 21-inch wheels, and that's the secret for getting through all these. Where you guys are ducking them down through creeks and crossings, these big tyres just roll over. And we don't have to lower the pressure on our tyres. We can get through just as is. Obviously the other thing which you can see sticking up is the HF radio. It's part of Oz Travel.
That's a modern addition.
Yeah, it's only just gone in, and it's mainly so I can communicate with my family each night, and then they'll let me go out bush whenever I like. So that's a small price to pay. But Glad also is towed by the teardrop, which we made at the men's shed.
That's a fantastic little camper.
Yeah, it's a 6-foot bed in there, But I've never slept inside it because I like to sleep out in the open with my swag, and if it rains we just put the canvas over. But I've got a couple of wussy mates that they like to sleep in there.
I did notice that,
yeah. And the highlight of it is the kitchen in the back, and it's got a solar panel on the top, so you've got a fridge all the time.
Yeah, it's well equipped.
And we need ice. We need ice mainly because we all drink whiskey, and that's very important. But it cost me $1,400 to build that, the men's shed. It's just marine ply on a little running gear that we set up, and obviously it's got Model A wheels, so it tracks the same as this car. So when you're in sand, you don't have any hassles. She just rolls along behind.
Yeah, it's definitely a great little unit you've got.
Yeah, we love it. It's it's a bit of luxury. We're all getting, you know, when you get over 70, you can afford to take a few luxuries with you. The swag on the ground's I'm past. I have a stretcher bed, and
Nothing wrong with that.
no. Well,
I don't know if it was the light this morning or not, but I did see some pyjamas running around, so that was an interesting luxury I've not seen out here before. But
I'm a bit worried that you think it's a luxury, but yes, I wear pyjamas, flannel pyjamas, every trip. It normally gets some people going when I turn up at the campfire with them on, and the other little thing I do is that whenever we've got someone new in the camp, at very first light I'll sing "Whoa, what a beautiful morning."
I really appreciated that. That was good.
Yeah.
And I was glad I could reciprocate with the car alarm.
Yeah, that was a bit atrocious, I thought, but still. But yeah, we, as you can see, we like to travel in the bush. We love the bush. We've been involved with the bush for a long time, and we can contribute now by showing people some of the spots that most people don't know about.
This is a fantastic spot. The view from here this morning was just magnificent.
Yeah, and the sunrise was really lovely. So yeah, it's been a pleasure travelling with you blokes, and glad she just loves it. She just can't wait for the next trip. And we've got some more on this year, including going all the way to Goulburn in New South Wales for a national meet of Model A's. And Glad's a bit famous at these national meets because she's been around Australia 3.5 times, and I drove it from Gladstone, Queensland. But it's we've normally always got a story to tell about how we got there, and we normally get a prize for the furthest travelled or most hard knocks or whatever it is, and so she's pretty famous. She's also famous because she actually keeps me going. I'm pretty useless at mechanics and things, so Glad's the one that does the job, and it's great fun.
No, it's been amazing to follow you along on this trip, and we really appreciate you letting us tag along.
Well, and it's good that you can appreciate a 92-year-old car, so well done. Congratulations.
Thanks, Brett.
Good, thank you.
Like all good things, our time exploring the amazing Kennedy Range loop track has come to an end. We had a fantastic time exploring this amazing part of Western Australia, sharing stories each evening around the campfire with the crew from the Model A Restorers Club of WA. If you like the idea of tinkering with Model A's and want to meet up with other like-minded enthusiasts, then head over to the Model A Restorers Club of WA website. If the idea of a Kennedy Range adventure is something you're interested in, then please check out this website for more information, or grab a copy of the spring edition of Western 4-Wheel Driver magazine. We hope you've enjoyed our Kennedy Range adventure, and we'll see you next time we wander the West.